Welcome everybody to another episode of Meet the Expert. In this special edition of VMworld 2017, Meet the Author. I'm super excited to present to you Niels Hagoort. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Somewhat.
You managed. Probably better than other people, so yeah.
Good. Who is one of the co-authors of the excellent Host Resources Deep Dive book that came out just in time for VMworld. So, Niels, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks, Ariel. Thanks for having me on the show. So I'm Niels Hagoort. I'm a freelance architect all the way back in the Netherlands. Coming out to VMworld for a session which is about the Host Deep Dive book, right? And just having a blast.
Yeah? Always having fun?
Yeah, I'm having fun.
You didn't mention you're a VCDX?
Oh, sure. Always forgot about that.
Yeah.
So I'm a VCDX as well. Number 212 even. So yeah, we're around 250, I believe.
Correct.
Right? We trespassed to 250. So yeah, still waiting for your arrival on the list.
I'll try someday.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. And you know, it's a pretty elite group to be in. Tell us about the book, especially because I think it's one of the best books. Mostly because I've been an administrator and I see all these settings and I think, I wonder what those are or why it's even a setting, right? And I think that your book is probably the only book that addresses this.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the whole idea behind the book, right? So Frank and I were talking a lot, discussing a lot. Frank was actually working on an update on this NUMA articles.
Okay.
And I was working at a large telecom provider, and we had like several issues how to squeeze ESXi to get the most performance out of it, right? And we talked a lot, and it raised a lot of questions on our side. That's probably us, but so we figured if we are asking ourselves decent things, we will probably help other people as well, right?
Well, so sorry to interrupt you, but I remember that Frank's blogs on NUMA design were so heavily referenced, and everybody was looking at them, and he was surprised by how popular they were.
Yeah, and that's actually a good point, because that allowed us to see the interest of the whole community in stuff like this. So that's probably the point where we said we need to write this down, right? Yeah. And put in the effort and put in the hours and create a book.
I've had the book, I've given it away, I'm a big proponent of the book. That book is really good, really dense. Tell me about that writing process, because if you're telling me you just started with NUMA and then you finish with this, that's a lot of difference.
Yeah. So this. It's all about scoping, right? And that was probably the hardest part for the book. So one time Frank was doing the CPU thing, I was more on the network side of things. So in the end it made sense to correlate all the host resources, the big four things in a host, right? So that's where it really started off, and we started to actually think a lot about how to write a book, not just showing screenshots and you must do this and you must click here and you must adhere to this setting. No, it was more like giving an explanation and more trying to give a little bit of the background how things work in the hypervisor and scheduling wise and stuff like that, and how that may or may not help you in your environment. Because let's be honest, a default ESXi installation, it's probably good enough for 80, maybe 90% of the typical workloads out there, right? For the typical virtual data centers. But if you are running a NFV workload, if you are running a large transactional
SAP HANA,
for example, workloads like those, then you will be able to benefit from the fullest of our book.
Yeah. And tell me about the writing process, because I think I had read somewhere that this was, every night for how many days, right? That you guys would call each other and try to get something done, or even discuss it even before writing it down.
Yeah, that was insanely intense, if you will. So we both have our day jobs, right?
Right.
And Frank is working a lot, or is busy with projects within VMware. I have my customers, so it was all about the evening hours. So. We toned down the family quality time a bit and just get in the hours. So it's work, it's coming home, eating, putting the kids to bed, putting the laptop on,
and working again.
And working again. Doing that.
When was the writing times for you? When did you start? When did you finish? Because I'm thinking that somebody else that says, okay, this is the second person, by the way. Mustafa told me the same thing. It's VMware did not sponsor any of my book. I had to do it out of time. So tell me about how long it took you to write a book like this detailed.
So we started out, once we had our idea, right? We pitched that idea to our peers back in the Netherlands. Guys like Marco van Bakken.
Who we'll have later on.
Exactly. And so they kind of trying to find out if the ideas were actually interesting enough, right? That together with the Numa series Frank did and the popularity of those blogs, that led us to actually begin. And then I'm speaking about May 2016, I believe, and the actual writing. So we had some ideas and we were
testing the market?
Testing, yeah, exactly. But also started testing out these settings and figure out how our table of contents should look like, right? And then the actual writing started, I think, right after Barcelona last year.
Okay.
So then we really took off. And we didn't have an exact deadline except for VMware 2017, obviously.
Cool.
So, but yeah, it's primarily the last 6 months, I believe. Those were the most intense and most hardest to put in the effort needed.
One thing that I loved about when I was reading your book in the beginning pages is that you guys said there is a lot of stuff that we have accepted as a community as a best practice. But we have tried to confirm that this is still the best practice. So tell me about the testing that you did for the book.
Wow, yeah, that's an interesting thing, because what is right and what is wrong, right? And to give you a small example, I was looking at the dropped packets, a metric in ESXtop, and because that was what I was working on, right? So I actually saw that it showed a value of 0% packet drop.
Okay.
But on the other end, we were still experienced from the guest OS side packet drops.
Oh.
So what's that coming from, right? And
which layer am I not seeing here?
Exactly. So that's where the VSI shell comes in, and that's a rabbit hole all on its own.
Wow.
Because you're looking into metrics which you don't fully understand, right? There are a lot of articles out there with ESXtop and formulas used to actually generate the metrics. But within VSI shell, that's as I said, that's a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So we were looking a lot into those metrics and actually found out where the drop packets went and stuff like that. But then again, you have the 0% packet loss in ESXtop, and you see packets dropped in VSI shell, right? So how does
why is this not here?
What is right, what is wrong? How does those correlate and stuff like that? And it helps that Frank works at VMware, obviously, because that allowed us
to ask people, hey,
exactly.
what's this happening here?
Yeah. But still, you're talking
about. That's a great testament to the book that you guys had access to as the persons that actually may know a little bit more about this.
Yeah, exactly. But still, it's you're working deep into the hypervisor and scheduling, so it's all it's not all publicly known, right? And it's on the NDA, so that made it a little bit harder, but still.
I was actually super impressed with the people that you got to do the forwards in each chapter.
Yeah.
And that was really cool because I didn't know about Pat Gelsinger, what he did before. I didn't know about Kit Colbert, what he did before. And that's, I think, one of the things that you guys have such a high credibility in the V community, that you were able to get these people to actually do these things for you, right?
So that was probably on a Friday night, where Frank and I were talking on the phone and had an idea. So we need some prologues, right? We already got Kit on board, which he wrote an awesome forward. He's setting the tone just perfectly. Wow. So but Pat, and that was a funny story. So Frank emailed Pat and told about our ideas and how we were describing CPU architecture in the book, and Pat immediately, it took like 3 minutes for him to respond. The CEO from VMware, which I can't even imagine how his schedule looks like. So that was really awesome. And when he wrote us back, because guys, obviously I'm gonna do this. What do you need? What do you have in mind? And it's awesome. And
so cool.
Within a week he delivered.
Yeah,
and it's a small but wow, such amazing stuff. Really amazing stuff. And you could actually see, we met with Pat in the Netherlands. We had a VMware summer school thing, and he was actually there. So we talked to him about NUMA, about CPU architectures, and you actually saw his eyes lit up, right? It's still there. The love for CPU architecture. Right? Yeah. It's insane what he did at Intel. All the way from the 486 family all the way to Xeon, and wow. Yeah, really cool stuff.
This is like I've been telling people, this is the geeks book. This is like what really gets us excited. So I'm super happy to have had you here today for this video. Thanks you so much. If people want to contact you, what's the best way? Twitter handle?
I guess Twitter, So it's at @Hagoort. I don't know if you will get that.
It will be in the episode description as well.
Yeah, so, and dude, happy to meet up. That's what VMworld is all about, right?
Yeah, and the power of the big community, you've heard it.
Exactly.
Right. Thank you so much.
Thanks.